Subnautica released in January of this year, although it was in early access for much longer. I played it in this earlier state and I enjoyed the game a lot, but since then it's been released into a full game, and things have changed. What I'm playing right now is just a bunch of the story sequences in, I believe, sequential order. So if you want to avoid spoilers, please turn away now. This isn't a review. This isn't a critique of any sort. This is just kind of my thoughts on the game and some interesting things that happened while I was playing. So while this quickly plays out, I'd like to explain a few things. First of all, why there's no game sound. For the most part, I listen to podcasts and streams and YouTube videos while I play games. And specifically with Subnautica, I would just use Shadowplay and record the last 5 minutes if anything interesting happened. So for the most part, I've cut out all the audio just so that there's no copyright infringement or anything like that. I will eventually overlay all of this audio with some waves, some ocean sounds, and hopefully that'll kind of give you the effect. But here's an actual clip of game sound.
My young are swimming for the shallows. I thank you. Their freedom is my end. What will it be like, I wonder, to go to sleep and never wake up? Perhaps next we meet, I will be an ocean current, carrying seas to a new land. Or a creature so small, it sees the gaps between the grains of sand. Farewell, friend.
Self-scan complete. Vital signs normal.
After being cured, you can now turn off the anti-air systems that the planet has set up, the perimeter defense, if you will. And this is basically the end of the story sequence. After curing yourself from the disease, you can now turn off the facility and start building the ship to get you off this planet now that there's no longer defense perimeter to shoot you down from leaving the planet. In the alien facilities, there are these teleporters to help you get around the world quicker. Now, I'm not convinced that it's too much quicker that you'd be traveling, even though it is a large distance that they send you, but the amount of time it takes to get through these portals. Now, I have a pretty good computer. I'm not running something too poor, but this load time takes quite a chunk of time. As you can see, I have a timer running to just show how long this teleport sequence is. So while the first section was all the alien facilities and the story missions, this is more focused on bugs and glitches I've encountered. Of course, there was one bug where I suddenly flew up in the sky. You know, pretty typical for bugs. There's bugs where swimming animals, swimming creatures would appear inside the sea base I built, which would, you know, kind of create this dome for me to stand and walk around in without swimming, as it is a largely swimming-based game. There's one bug with the torpedo where I shot it straight at a creature and it went straight through him. He didn't seem to care about the torpedo at all. I think a lot of the bugs I encountered are sort of clipping issues. You know, like there's no collision between two objects. For example, the one torpedo just missed, but a lot of the time walking around in the prawn suit, I would just fall through the floor, and you'll see clips of that in a little bit. But for the most part, I think it's just the game has trouble kind of recognizing that physics engine, recognizing that the prawn suit has weight and it walks around on two legs, because the game wasn't really built around the idea of you walking around and whatnot. It's built around you swimming around and, you know, using multiple different angles and dimensions to maneuver around. For example, like this prawn suit falling through the ground. It was a bit silly. Now, this zone was supposed to be an alien facility. It was supposed to be airtight, you walk around, you check things out, but I had a small bug where I was swimming about, and I just thought that was goofy. So for the majority of the game, I actually could not find the remaining pieces for the Cyclops. I needed the whole pieces, and I could not find them for the life of me. This is maybe 5 hours, 8 hours into the game. I could not find them for the life of me. I had the prawn suit, I had the sea moth, I had a good base built up and everything, but I needed the Cyclops so I could dig deeper and find out, where to go later in the game, how to get the later resources. And of course, I guess I was just looking in the wrong biome or something, because I found all 3 pieces within 30 seconds of each other. And when I mentioned shutting down the facility's power earlier and deactivating the active defense system, it actually shot down a other plane entering the orbit earlier, and that's how you're originally told and you learn of this anti-air. But anyways, I had a bit of an adventure with my Cyclops. I made sure it was something that I could remember, something that I wouldn't lose, and just overall memorable, something to cherish this experience for me. Another issue I had, I thought that my moon pool flooded and there was some sort of bug where, I couldn't walk around or whatever. Turns out I was just an idiot and, I cracked holes into the hull, but I didn't realize that until later. Occasionally the Leviathan Queen, or Sea Dragon or whatever, will send you visions and messages, and she does this once when you leave the planet as well. Now this I found a little bit goofy, right? My engine was overheating, I had it running too fast, I understand that. So I turn it down a notch. There's no gauge for how hot my engine's running, but I turn it down, I take it a little bit slower, and still a fire erupts my engine. Now, what I like about this, actually, this is a good learning experience. First of all, don't run your engine too hot. Secondly, I when I first made the Cyclops, I learned that there were fire extinguishers on the board, just hooked on the side. I thought it was a really cool addition. They just gave you 2 free fire extinguishers to grab at and run to put out fires if need be. And I did just that, putting the fire extinguisher back, which I don't know, that might be some futuristic technology right there. But anyways, moving on to the Leviathans and combat. Now the Leviathans are pretty big in the game. Like they're they're meant to be the big scary monster that you hide from. Combat isn't really a main focus, right? So you have to hide from the Leviathans. Now what I did here, I'm actually a little bit cheesed about this. I left my Seamoth at 280 something meters because it has a crush depth of 300 meters with the first depth upgrade. So I left it up there. I went to start, scanning some warpers. You can hear the Leviathan in the background. It actually just roared. So that's how I knew it was in the area, but I didn't know where it was. I was looking for a place to hide for the most part. But when I look up, he's actually smacking my my Seamoth around, which already does some damage. But he knocked it below the crush depth of 300, and it blew up before I could get back to it. Now that was just really sad for me. It made me really sad. Now I added this clip in just so that you could get a good look at the Leviathan. I know the last clip, things were a little bit scatterbrained. I was looking around and whatnot. But down here, I'm a good, 200 meters below the surface. He's swimming around doing his own thing up there. And he's still a massive creature. He takes up a large portion of my screen. Now obviously I am in the prawn suit. That might compromise the size of it, or your scaling, whatever. But it's a large creature, and it is quite intimidating when the most you can do combat wise is to punch it with a mechanical arm that it seems to just shrug off. And you'll see that in a few clips here. But I do tussle one of these Leviathans with my prawn suit, and it doesn't go over too well for me. The other thing is that there are ghost Leviathans, or there are different versions of the Leviathans. Now what I have shown you up to this point was the Reaper Leviathan and the Sea Dragon and a few of the bugs and glitches, but this one here is a Ghost Leviathan, and he spawns in kind of special conditions. There's one in this kind of special mandatory transition zone is what I'm going to call it, from the sort of mid-level to the lower lava level. This is kind of in between there. But he also spawns on the sides of the world. Once you get to the edge of the world, there are multiple of them that spawn. Now this was actually a terrifying moment for me, because I'm in fairly shallow water. This is supposed to be mostly a safe zone from Leviathans, but he followed me right in here, and he actually went to try and devour my soul, clipping through the rocks a little bit. But this is generally supposed to be a safe zone. I was surprised that one chased me so far out. Now, obviously, I did get a little greedy here, and I wanted to scan him, but that's beside the point. But they are some fairly majestic creatures. They're very well animated. They look so lifelike. They look so beautiful. But at the same time, they're kind of goofy. For example, check this out. Well, I'm just out for a regular swim, checking out what is that? Did I see that right? What is that? Gonna catch no, like I don't like this. No, please. I'm gonna eat you. No, I don't. No, please. This is a lot of fun. Really strong arms. I'm not actually kind of hurt me. How are you not dead yet? I punched you in the eye like 5 times. Thank you. Don't punch me in the face. I'm free. I can finally explore. I can do my own thing. I'm gonna get at you again. Wait, you're gonna make noise again? No, don't come get you. Grab me. No, let go of me. I don't like this. I'm punching you in the same eye. How are you gonna get away? 8 million times over. How are you not blind? I just like, what is this realm? Get me out of here. I just want to go back to the surface. Are you hurt this time? I'm not fine. You know, whatever. Okay, cool. I do your own thing. I'm not gonna do it again. I'm free from your grasp. Just leave. I don't want to fight. Get me out of here. I'm gonna do it again. You're alive still. Just. Oh wow! What a thing is this? How do you like this view though? You're really strong. Wow. This is. No, but okay. No, but please, if you stop punching me, I just want to leave. I want to get out. We could have been friends. Bro, I don't want to be friends. We could have been friends. I don't think we could have. I didn't want to. No, you hurt me, and that's not what real friends would have done. A real friend wouldn't hurt me. Tell my mom. You go tell your mom. I'm gonna go get out of here and repair my life, my 10% life. Freaking weirdo. I don't know how stupid that's gonna look to anyone else, but I had a little bit of fun with that, and I'm sorry. apart from running away from Leviathans, another good pastime to have is scavenging for equipment, scavenging for gear, you know, learning new scientific recipes and construction methods, blueprints, so that you can build more advanced equipment and make yourself more effective. One good way to do this is to just, you know, randomly explore around and find prawn drill suit arms. Now, these are incredibly useful and actually incredibly mandatory, so it's best to find as many of those as you possibly can. Now, I did a really stupid thing here, and I decided I wanted to see what the edge of the world had for me. You know, I wanted to mostly see if this was the edge of the world, so I dumped my prawn suit at the top. I saved just in case something went wrong. When I decided I'd gone down far enough, a little ghost Leviathan decided to show up and give me a little how do you do. So obviously I got greedy and I wanted to scan him when I really should have just ran away, but that's beside the point. I couldn't get the scan off. He's very agile, and there's also two of them. Now, fun fact, it does not carry over your scan if you scan two different creatures of the same species, so you can't get it done twice as quick or, you know, twice as efficiently or whatever. So that was a little bit unfortunate. I decided at this point I had low enough health. I really just wanted to get out of there, but they kind of had other plans for me, and you know, this whole excursion was just a bad idea. Amongst all of the silliest, stupidest stuff I do, I did want to scan the fire-breathing sea dragon. It was incredibly difficult to keep up with him, and I actually never finished my scan, but I got incredibly close. As you can see, I was at like 98%, and at some point I decided that there was diminishing returns. You know, I wasn't gonna swim out there fast enough. I got too far away from my prawn suit. It was just dangerous. Not a good idea. Now, another reason that the drill arm is actually better than the punching arm is that it also works as a weapon. I'm not sure about the damage values. I'm not sure if that, you know, changes with each arm attachment, but I know that the rate of fire, at the very least for the drill arm, is much higher. Plus, it seems to track the enemy to some extent, so that's pretty handy. It is very useful if you just want, you know, constant damage, if you can hook yourself onto an enemy and just mow them down. So here's a quick little example of that. He's dead. The little fish boy is dead, and he just floats up there for the rest of the time. I don't know how I was still hanging on to him even though he was floating there. You know, my weight should have dragged him down. After all, the prawn suit is heavy enough to walk on the seabed. It should be heavy enough to drag that, you know, lifeless corpse down with it. Now, not to get too dark, but I was swimming around doing my own thing when suddenly a sea dragon popped up out of nowhere. Now, this is the same one I actually brawled earlier with the prawn suit. I punched him in the face a bunch. He didn't like that too much. It was also the one I showed off much earlier than that, when I was just showing you what the body of a Leviathan looked like, you know, how majestic they were, how good they looked, right? Obviously a lot of work was put into them, and, you know, a lot of care has been put into them. Now, if I was smarter here, what I would do is actually hook onto that wall earlier, but I was so mesmerized by the sea dragon spitting its fire that I missed my chance to get into the cave, and I actually get grabbed here by the sea dragon. I didn't know that you could do this, and I don't think you were meant to. Since it is the same similar sort of animation and mindset as the Reaper Leviathan, I'm sure that, you know, it has probably a similar code, right? You know, where it bite you and grab you and whatnot. But I don't know, that looked goofy inside the mouth of the sea dragon. Another big thing about the game, though, aside from the combat or lack thereof, would be mobility. And now you're about to get the big title card for that, but this is just an example of how annoying the Reaper scanner boys are. Like, they'll constantly teleport you out of your Pronsu or your Sea Moth, or I don't think that they can teleport you out of the Cyclops, but they'll teleport you out of your, marine adventure gear at just the worst times, and I'm surprised that he was able to do it twice there. But anyways, here is the big title card: mobility and agility, or agility and mobility if you want to call me out on how I wrote the title card, but that's beside the point. The prawn suit can be extremely mobile if you know how to use it. It's kind of a learning experience, right? When you first get it, it lugs around, it stomps its feet, it's a bit slow, and swimming is obviously probably a more efficient route, especially given that you can swim in any 3 dimensions. But the prawn suit, once you get the grappling arm, you can traverse the land pretty quickly. And I think this is also by breaking the physics engine a little bit. You can just, if you grapple an area above you and then use the jump jets that the prawn suit starts with, you can get so much velocity carrying you upwards. It's kind of insane at just how much speed you can gain, and it's become really useful. One of my favorite things to do. I don't know how good I've gotten at this, but ever since I saw the grappling arm, I just wanted to swing from the ceiling like Spider-Man. And that's maybe that's a common dream to have, I think. But anyways, I was able to do it fairly well here against the sea floor. By the sea floor, I mean the lava area, which is right near the last alien facility. This is my speedrunner strat for getting out of my Cyclops, trying to get into my base in the fastest way possible. Now, obviously, I didn't get the momentum I wanted to after swinging off the Cyclops there, but I did pick up a lot of momentum swinging off of this. I'm able to grapple onto my base at a little bit of a goofy angle using the jump jets to maintain my heights, and I get a pretty nice swing here, I think, straight up into the moon pool, which is, I think that was a pretty good run. Now, the last and most important thing, Spider-Man doesn't swing from the walls of the seafloor. No, that would be silly. Spider-Man's not a silly person. He's a crime-fighting superhero. So you know what Spider-Man does? He swings from helicopters. He swings from buildings. But most importantly, he attempts to swing from these giant, goofy-looking whale creatures that just randomly spawn across the world. And by golly, does he do it. Spider-Man can do anything, and that's, quite honestly, an inspiration to us all. Now, you've already seen how silly the torpedoes sort of are. You saw one just fly straight through I think they're called sawteeth. Is that what the plural of sawtooth would be? Whatever, that's beside the point. I may actually be thinking of Horizon enemies now that I come to think of it. But anyways, you saw that, they don't always hit their target, and that's a little bit goofy. But in preparation for making the torpedo arm, I made a bunch of gas torpedoes. Now, I assumed that you would just throw those in the storage unit of the prawn suit. It kind of makes sense, right? Just a little bit. But it turns out I was very wrong, because I made gas torpedoes, and that was a vortex torpedo I shot. So I figured, hey, maybe it gave me a few for free, maybe that's what it automatically is set to. But instead, you can see in the top left there, ammunition depleted, exit the vehicle and restock the torpedo bay. I didn't realize that it said torpedo bay. I didn't quite read that, but eventually I did figure it out. And I just assumed that the torpedo bay was on the arm, which it is. So I grab all my torpedoes and I get ready to move them over. But, surprise, surprise, the torpedo bay has a limit of 6, which is, it's just so small. That's not a good amount of space for torpedoes. Like it's just goofy. one of the final things I'm going to talk to you about here is the Neptune rocket. It's your way off of the planet, and it's the way to finish the story. Once you complete this, you are done the game. There's no turning back. You are out. So the first thing you need to do is create the landing platform, or the launch platform more specifically. Now this is a large thing, and you'll see me swim up to this in a little bit here, but it actually, you need really deep water to build this, and I was very cheesed that I can build it in the more shallow parts, because it doesn't seem to dip that deep into the water. But anyways, that's beside the point. This is where the rocket will stand. It is quite a large area. This is the panel that you will now purchase or construct the other upgrades from, and you'll see right now I've skipped ahead to where I get the first sort of upgrade, the first construction to build. This is going to take a little bit, but initially I thought that there was a ladder on the back and you just had to climb that up, because there's actually a ton of ladders in the game, surprisingly. But no, instead it's actually an elevator, which you can't really notice from the non-constructed portion of it. But yeah, here's me looking for a ladder to see if I can climb it while it's being constructed. But yeah, the view from the top is actually quite nice, and I wish that I had spent more time up there, truth be told. One of the drawbacks of being up here, though, is that the very obvious clouds of smoke conceal the two islands in the game. Now, initially when I played in the beta, I only knew about the one island. I don't think that there was another island, but there might have been. I only knew about the one island, so I was surprised to find the other one. But right now we are building the bottom of the Neptune rocket. And a lot of these building processes, they take quite a long time, considering. And by a long time, I mean 30 seconds to a minute. But that's a lot of time spent just watching it be built, rather than actually reading the ingredients and going out and getting more resources to build the next bit. I don't have too big of a gripe with it. I like the spectacle of it. I think it's pretty neat, but I think that spectacle is kind of lost when you can't view it from a wider perspective. You're stuck at the first-person view, which, if you could only view it from the wider perspective, I might argue that you want a first-person view as well. But I don't know. With the lack of having both options, it's a little bit hard to tell if this is satisfying enough. Currently, I've got the middle piece of the Neptune rocket there. You can see it actually says Neptune on the rocket, if you can imagine that. We'll get to change that later on, and you're gonna love what I call it, and by that I mean I love what I call it, and you may or may not, but I'm not gonna make that decision for you now. Finally, we have the last piece of the rocket, and I get really excited at this point. I'm actually kind of hopping up and down in my seat. I'm ready to roll. My rocket's done. I can leave this forsaken planet if I so choose. At the very least, I need to check out what it's like on the inside. Now, I actually have a bit of a cheat code for you guys. I don't know if you guys know about this, but this is exclusive for you. So, if you want to repaint your rocket, now this is exciting. If you want to repaint your rocket, it's very, very simple. All you have to do is just push this button right here, and look at that, done. Easy as pie. The rocket's a different color. It's even named the CND Ranger, which of course stands for the Canada Ranger, because I am Canadian. Surprise, surprise. Now, I do like that little transition connecting bit that keeps the pod of the rocket with everything else. But speaking of pods, you can actually leave a time capsule behind when you leave the planet. Now, I kind of wanted to leave a really, really good time capsule for my boys, right? Leave them some good gear. Once you have all three of these tablets, you can construct them yourself, and you need to actually construct them yourself, but that's beside the point. A lot of the time capsules I got were kind of meh, and you'll see that in a little bit. I do have all of the time capsules at the very end here, but I just wanted to give whoever gets my time capsule a little hope, an easier time, right? I gave them my drill bit, I gave them my grapple arm. Those are things that carried me to the end. Those are things that I loved about my time, and here we are with the time capsules. So in our first time capsule here, I found it right by the wreck of the Aurora. Inside, it gave me some fish and some water, and that's all right here. That seems to be what a lot of people leave behind. But it also gave me a little bit of titanium ore, which I don't understand why you would give that to someone. It's the easiest to come by resource. Maybe the game was goofing up. Maybe the game decided, hey, you're not ready for what's really in this time capsule yet. And, I think that might be what happens when I give my time capsule to someone else. But that's beside the point. Right here, there's another time capsule, right? And inside, we get some more fish and some flippers. Now, the flippers were actually ultra-glide fins, which were incredibly good. Like, those are very useful, and that takes up 4 slots. So they gave up a lot of their chance to give me anything else, which I appreciate. I think that's actually, they had to consider that, and I'm not sure if they made that decision lightly or not. But anyways, only a few steps away here. This is a little bit goofy. There's another time capsule. This is all one clip. They're literally 20 feet away, these 2 time capsules. Now this one was a lot more helpful, I think. It gave me ion cubes, which I think was my first time coming across them, as well as an efficiency module for the Cyclops that I had not unlocked yet, and that was a little bit of a salt in my wounds. But that's beside the point. I do come across my 4th and final time capsule here. Now this one I was actually the most mad about, even more than the Titanium Boy. Because he actually just dumped on me 5 of his most useless tools, 5 of the tools that he's not going to use anymore, and a creature egg. Now, I don't know what the creature eggs are used for, but that was just insulting to me. So much so that I actually just, sat down in my rocket and I freaking left this world. I got the heck out of there. Want nothing to do with it anymore. I'm done. I'm out. Peace out, homies. See you guys on the other side.
Launch in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time capsule jettisoned. Caution, approaching orbital debris field. Orbital debris field clear. Performing gravity turn maneuver. Confirm destination coordinates. Nearest interstellar phase gate. Engaging ion boosters in 3, 2, 1.
What is a wave without the ocean? A beginning without an end. They are different, but they go together. Now you go among the stars, and I fall among the sand. We are different, but we go together.
So overall, I enjoyed Subnautica. I thought it was a fun game. Some of the mechanics were really interesting. It was a great experience. A lot of the bugs are pretty hard to overlook. It's not perfect. It's not even functional in some cases, mostly with the prawn suit. The game was built around swimming, not walking, and I think that was that needed a little bit more time to work on and refine and make sure that things work properly. Apart from that, I think Subnautica is an experience to be had, and overall, I enjoyed my experience. I would recommend the game. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.